Microphone test 1 2, live stream test, microphone test. Microphone test, 1, 2, 3, 4. Microphone test, 1, 2, 3, 4. In front of the podium, microphone test for live stream. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4 in front of mic. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Final test. Final live stream test.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone.
I hope everyone is enjoying their lunch. So what you have today, what you are eating today, is what our students in the high school district enjoy on a regular basis. The newest item that you're tasting, if you've got it, is the shake ramen, which is actually one of my personal favorites. What we did not serve today is actually my personal favorite, which is the Smucker's Uncrustable Peanut Butter and Grape Jelly Sandwich. That's actually my favorite lunch, so my staff knows that. I do want to take a moment to recognize a few people in the room before we get started into the formal part of our session, which is State Superintendent Thurman. Thank you for coming, sir. Representative Correa, thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Mr. Massey from the CSBA, thank you for coming. And Victoria Torres from the Samueli Foundation, thank you for coming. And I'd like to also recognize Kim Frenzel, who is from the Department of Education. We'd like to thank you for coming also. And we also want to recognize our board president, Al Jabbar. Thank you for coming. Trustee Randall Trejo, thank you for coming. And Trustee Piercy, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate your support. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and get started with our superintendent, who is going to deliver a few remarks. Here we go.
Thank you. You know, first of all, I want to put a shout out to Orlando and his wonderful staff. You know, it was, and I want to really double down on thanking our friends from the California Department of Food and Agriculture, as well as our friends from all the way from Washington, D.C., who came with the Appropriations Committee as well. We were getting for Superintendent Thurman and Congressman Correa, we got a little education about appropriations, how they're the most popular people here, I know, so thank you. You know, I wanted to just start with a quote from Bob Moses, the late civil rights leader who founded the Algebra Project. And he put it this way: the questions that we think face the country are questions which in one sense are much deeper than civil rights. They're questions which go very much to the bottom of mankind and people. They're questions which have repercussions in terms of a whole international affairs and human relations. They're questions which go to the very root of our society. What kind of society will we be? And ladies and gentlemen, I'm so proud, folks assembled here who are doubling down with our students in audience too, Amanda Gilmore, our student trustee, who represent the future, not only of Greater Anaheim, but through this wonderful state and country we have. So as we know, there's a lot of divisiveness out there. But there's no question that food insecurity can bring people together. You know, I was talking to our friends over here with California CalFresh, right, which is the old kind of food stamps program. Is it Mirabelle? Yeah. She was explaining how, she was grateful to be here, as all of you are, because what we're doing is we're connecting the need for healthy food, healthy nutrition, right, with once you get the food stamps and what you purchase. That's a huge missing piece. And we also spoke about the importance of showing the world that government does work, right? Because there's so much of a narrative out there that somehow things are broken. And again, the folks in this room representing all the institutions are showing that we can make it work. And I think that deserves a round of applause. I want to, I think, also talk a little bit about the importance of the Universal Meal Program. And thanks to our governor and certainly Mr. Thurman and those of the advocates of the state to ensure that our families and young people have an opportunity for meals in the state of California. And I think that definitely deserves a round of applause. That's quite an accomplishment. And I do want to say this about our community schools. What you're seeing is teacher-led reform. There's a lot, we've been hearing a lot about school reform, but this is a public school where teachers are leading reform in terms of positioning our kids to solve some of the most complex problems, including food deserts in America. Is this the clicker here? So I wanted to share the location of Magnolia High School. This is in the middle of the food desert. Talk about Orange County. We have some of the highest rates of food deprivation, homelessness. McKinney-Vento numbers are among the highest in the district. Those are students who live in motels, who sleep on the floor every day, but yet come to school. You know, this is a huge problem in America, especially in urban spaces. COVID exposed us. They exposed the gaps of inequity in our society. And again, thank you to all of the stakeholders here for coming together in terms of resources and funding and ensuring that we can help solve this problem. I want to give quick numbers of, and this is thanks to the Orange County Equity Task Force that looks at census data and data across Orange County. There's about 580 census tracts in Orange County. In terms of what they call the Social Progress Index, Magnolia is ranked 559th out of 580. In terms of nutrition and basic care, the numbers are very stark. Cancer, or health and wellness overall, Magnolia is 575th out of 580 census tracts. And diabetes prevalence is 550, mental health 577, and so on. So these numbers are stark, yet right in front of you, is part of the solution. And creating a higher sense of awareness about nutrition and about what can be done, I think gives us all great hope. You're going to see a tour in a few minutes of our amazing urban lab. This is not just a farm. This is a farm that's an urban laboratory. And again, thank you to our board, Anna Piercy especially, because I know she's a gardener and she got it right away in terms of what we were talking about. We took some of our COVID money and we created an outdoor learning space like no other. Thanks again to our entire board, Mr. Jabbar, for agreeing, because we took a risk, right? We took a risk. We did not play it safe in terms of getting a lot of the other stuff, but we decided, hey, we're going to create lemonade here. You're going to see it in the amazing work that the entire district has come together to create this huge opportunity. But this, I like to show, this is a new graphic because it truly is a graphic of a community school. No longer do you go to school and have maybe school in one class or school at just Magnolia High School, one school. This model has widened the aperture of access to intellectual capital through our partnership with Community College, with ROP, with our over 90 corporate and nonprofit partners. So school and AUHSD is across the district, across content, and it involves people from the community, including parents too. We're all learning together to solve society's most pressing and urgent problems. I'm going to give you, on this schema, you can see it here too. This is one example. On the right side is the Magnolia Agri-Science Center here, that's right here. On the bottom is the Anaheim Biotech program, and our kids at Anaheim through dual credit are learning how to genetically engineer drought-resistant plants. That's the plan. And as you know, those of you who are aware about CRISPR and about the technology that has brought, that America has really innovated, there are billions of sequences of DNA. And if our kids are taught to unlock a sequence that can help create a more drought-resistant tomato, they can go to the bottom there, the left is Western High School. We've opened one of the region's first urban high school business incubators where our students can learn how to patent their ideas and monetize it. It's all about creating a better world together for the unlimited you. So we're really, really proud of that. In the middle is a new schema called the Career Preparedness Systems Framework. And like Bob Moses, civil rights leader, from Martin Luther King to Cesar Chavez, civil rights was always about access to meaningful and purposeful jobs. And so AUHSD is leading the way to create more meaningful and purposeful jobs. So for the United States, I mean, that's what's at risk here. We are unleashing the innovation of teachers to unleash the innovation of 30,000 students. And if this model succeeds, we can unleash the innovation of 6 million K-12 students and 60 million across the United States. So again, this model is teacher-led reform, and I'm so honored, all of us, from our board to our teachers to our administrators, to have just amazing teachers, and you're gonna meet a few of them in a second. So at this point, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, and we just saw our superintendent about a month ago over at Sycamore, and I got to say that Tony Thurman has been a strong advocate for community schools, and AUHSD has been fortunate to be the recipient of proportionately the largest amount of funding from the state for community schools, $24 million across 13 schools, and thank you to Carlos Hernandez and his team for helping to make that happen. That deserves, I think, a big round of applause. And I know that Mr. Thurman, when he came out, it made us feel so honored and affirmed for the work that we've done, because his whole life has been dedicated to making society a better place, and certainly community schools are part of that. But if you don't know, he has been a social worker, public school parent, and elected for more than 10 years in office. And like many of our own students, Superintendent Thurman came from very humble beginnings. His mother was an immigrant from Panama who came to San Jose, California to be a teacher. His father was a soldier who didn't return to his family after the Vietnam War, and he met him for the first time when he was an adult. After his mother died when he was 6, Thurman and his brother were raised by a cousin who they never met. Superintendent Thurman's family relied on public assistance programs and great public schools to get out of poverty, and public school education allowed him to attend Temple University, where he became student body president, and that's why he's so connected to you young people. So Without further ado, please welcome our State Superintendent, Tony Thurman.
Thank you, Superintendent. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. Can we have a round of applause for Superintendent Matsuda? An incredible leader. I don't think he believed me when I said I would come back again. I said, if you invite me, I'll come back. And if you feed me, yeah, I'll really come back. I don't get invited to a lot of meetings where it's built into the program that you actually have the opportunity to eat, and to eat good food is truly a pleasure. I just love in the slide presentation how you put it all together. The important work happening here around healthy food, the importance of the community schools effort, the importance of career pathways and cybersecurity, and now today to learn about really the ability for young people to create patents and to become entrepreneurs. And then how you opened in context that our work can make the difference for students and families who live in poverty. And I appreciate that. You know, you mentioned the word food stamps. I kind of looked up because I haven't heard that word in a long time, because I was a food stamps recipient. And so conversations about food are really important to me, because in our household, we often grew up without. There were many times when my tia would just say, God will provide. And as a youngster, I was more like, well, we're hungry, what we gonna eat, you know? Because we didn't have. And we never went without. And I might have been a recipient of every USDA program that exists for students and families. I was on the free lunch program. My family did get food stamp coupons, which is today the EBT card, and CalFresh. And we had government cheese delivered to my household. Raise your hand if you had the pleasure of government cheese, right? Box of cheese, a block of cheese in very thick plastic that you had to work to get through, but if you got through it, it might be the best grilled cheese or quesadilla that you had. And for a family where we didn't have, it was important for us to have these resources to overcome very, very humble beginnings. And so I'm grateful for the work. I know we have some folks here from CalFresh. Anyone else here from USDA, just stand up so we can show our appreciation. Everyone from the USDA team. Thank you. Thank you for supporting California students and families. I think you know during the pandemic, we probably, in the beginning of the pandemic, probably started about 800 million meals all across the state. Thank you for all the waivers. All the waiver requests were written by Kim Frenzel and Jacqueline, who are here today from our team. I'd like to acknowledge our team from Nutrition Services. Thank you. Kim's hiding. She doesn't want any attention, but she makes it possible for us to understand how we support schools. And we know that we're asking a lot. It doesn't just happen. You know, what we're seeing today in the Magnolia Agri-Science program, it doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of work. And thank you for working with us to give us the flexibilities that we've asked for to care for California students and families during very difficult times. I'm just going to keep coming back, Superintendent. I'm not going to leave because I think you're providing great examples for what we need to see. And I'd like to thank the members of the board who are here today. I understand we have trustees Pearson here. Pearson. And Trustee Randall Trejo, also here. And of course our President Al-Jabbar, who's always here every time I come. Thank you. Thank you for the great things that you're doing, and also want to acknowledge the folks who have made this incredible agri-science opportunity happen. Orlando Griego, thank you. And to your team. And I just want to acknowledge the wonderful students who greeted me today. There were many. Your students are really great spokespersons. You know, in a time when there's so much negativity, people forget easily that great things are happening everywhere, and it's easy to overlook it. Someone did a study, and they said that people will always gravitate to what's negative. Somehow it captures your brain for longer. Your students are a reason for why we should think about the positive and what is possible. And I hope that we all get with our students and support them around what is possible. I just had a fabulous conversation today with Amanda Jacoby and Gilmar. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Stand up. And Monty, is Monty still here? You all, yeah, stand up and be applauded. It's really about you all and about your fellow students, and you all are such great spokespersons. And I appreciate the welcome, but I appreciate that you all are really about the work and you're making it happen. I'm joined by one of our deputy superintendents who's here today. I want to acknowledge her as well. Nancy, thank you for joining me here. She's telling me ideas of what we should replicate, because there's a lot of things here that should be replicated. And so let us continue to work together. I just want you to know that the state is here to help. And Superintendent, when you talked about your quote, I thought about what people often say about government. And there's probably a lot of things that government can get better at, but the reality is that as difficult as these last few years have been, California is providing incredible resources to schools. This is an inflection point. This is a moment to do something that hasn't been done before, not to mention, $596 million that goes directly to making sure that every hungry student will have a meal. When I was on the free lunch program, I had to show an orange ticket at my school to say that I was on the free lunch program. And I'll tell you, I got teased for that. I ate my lunch under my desk because I didn't want anybody to know I was on the free lunch program. And then I became an adult and I realized every single person in my school and my community was on the free lunch program. And so that tells me that we have work to do as a nation to get past shaming those who are hungry. But we have real resources, and the state is making it possible for us to have a meal, 2 meals a day for every student, regardless of their background, their neighborhood, their zip code. Everyone gets a meal. So we're pleased to support you with universal meals. All the resources that have been provided for infrastructure of kitchens, because we know that it takes a lot of work to do this, and I have to thank Congressman Correa, who has provided the federal resources to do this for infrastructure in addition to the state resources. We're grateful for that. We know that there's a whole lot more that needs to be done, but as you put it together in that slide, we have to put all these programs together. Excited to work with you on community schools. I mean, we're busy trying to figure out how to get preschool for every 4-year-old, to make sure that our students learn to read by 3rd grade, that there's more after-school programs and tutoring programs to accelerate learning, to offset the learning gaps that have grown during the pandemic. We were saving lives. In November, 11,000 people were dying every day during the pandemic. And people are going to tell you that there's nothing good about what happens in California, but California people have been resilient, and I want to thank every single person who has put it on the line for our students. Our teachers and our classified staff, any in the room, make sure we acknowledge you all. Wherever you are, yeah. Thank you to our students and parents for your resilience in saying California can and will do. And a great part of what we do will be providing meals for families and providing healthy meals. And I just appreciate those who talked about the powerful transformative effects that having a garden in this school community can mean in a community that's ranked the way that it was, as you described, out of 590 census tracts, that they wanted to rank this community near the end. I look forward to when we're celebrating how we accelerate this community racing to the top of the list. And as you said, there's no more important social justice than giving people a chance to earn a decent living, to pay for themselves and their families. So I'm gonna keep coming back. You're gonna have to find an office space for me, Superintendent, because there's so many great things happening here that we wanna highlight, we wanna support, we wanna help implement them and find ways to support the 30,000 plus students here and our 6 million students in the state. Thank you so much for everything.
Tiffany Boss and I have a few remarks for you today, and then we're going to go to the garden or to the farm for you. Actually, before I start, I wanted to recognize my staff who prepared your meals today. This is the Magnolia. Edgar, you want to introduce your staff real quick?
Yeah, we have Emma Medina, Nina, Amira, Josie, Gabby, Elizabeth, and Leona. And they're here every day, working real hard to make sure we get the kids some food today.
Edgar shared a story with me right before we began, and he said that of the 750, 800 kids that he serves every day, that he sets out over 1,000 pieces of fruit and vegetables, and they're all gone by the end of the serving period. So clearly the kids like fresh fruit and vegetables, which is not always typical of some schools, but this is typical of Magnolia's. And we attribute that to Sabina's hard work with the MAC and the work of the district itself. Thank you, guys.
Let's hear it for a very hard working.
Thank you, Edgar. And I would be remiss if I did not introduce my staff behind the scenes, you guys. This is two members of my management team, Maria Barragan and Renee Burton, and our production lead, Maggie, and our student intern, Elaine. There we go. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I did want to share with you about a little bit of news, a little bit of information, a little bit of facts about food services, the food services department. We're a department of about a $26 million budget, $26.7 million, and we have an entitlement of about almost $2 million. So for those in the room who don't know what that means, we get USDA entitlement for every lunch that we serve from the previous year, and right now we're at about $1.9 million that we get from the USDA. So those monies are translated into funds that we use for processing food. We use it for Department of Defense food or produce, which is used primarily for California-grown produce. So we also do what we call brown box, and brown box might be everything from cranberries to canned peas or corn or something like that, or even fresh or frozen vegetables. My department, as I told you before, is a K-12 program, and we service about 43,000 students. And we served last year approximately 1.6 million breakfasts and over 4 million lunches. We're on our way up. During COVID, we are dramatically impacted, and we didn't serve nearly as many meals as we have normally served. And we are currently serving about approximately 900 more meals a day for breakfast and about 1,200 more meals for lunch. And that is primarily due to universal meals. So universal meals, there are questions in the room, what is universal meals? So for us, what universal meals means is that all students have access to a meal, breakfast and lunch on a daily basis. That has always been the case in Anaheim Union High School District. What is different for us though, is that all students are eating at no charge. That's extremely important, and we have to thank State Superintendent Thurman as well as the state of California for what they have done. In my opinion, California has led the way in making sure that students have access to meals on a daily basis at no charge. It's something that the nation needs to do. The next step is the nation. Students should not have to worry about whether they have a meal to eat, whether they can pay for a meal or not. They should be able to come to school, learn, have a meal, breakfast and lunch. I was telling Tiffany, it wasn't just 2 years ago when we billed the Anaheim Elementary School District $124,000 for negative balances. So those were students who were coming through the line during the school year 18-19 who were unable to pay for their food, but we fed them anyway. So in turn, we had to bill the elementary district's general fund for those meals at a tune of $124,000. So during COVID, what we experienced was students were eating for free. We saw those numbers rise as the students came back to school because they realized they no longer had to pay for meals, which is universal meals mandate. And that's a wonderful thing. What COVID taught us was there was great hunger in our community. We knew that by the long lines of families who were waiting for us prior to us even opening. There are people in the room, Aaron Chow was working alongside us at South Junior High School almost on a daily basis, watching kids come through the line with little signs out the window saying, "Thank you very much, God bless you," because the hunger was palpable. We knew that they needed us. We served them breakfast and lunch every single day, Saturdays, Sundays, holidays. We were out there, and what that led us to believe, what we learned from that was that when we went to community eligibility provision, we had a choice to make. The choice was, do all of our schools go on community eligibility provision, or do we leave some schools out? Anaheim Union High School District covers five cities. On the far west side, we have schools that are very low free and reduced. On the far east side, we have schools that are high free and reduced. So the choice we had to make was, do we make all schools on community eligibility provision, or do we not? It was a no-brainer for us. Hunger was everywhere throughout our school district. We had families were in line at Kennedy High School. They were in line at Ponderosa Elementary School. They were in line at Catella High School and South Junior High School. So it was district-wide. So when we chose to go on to community eligibility provision, we chose to do it at all schools. Now, in a regular school year with regular reimbursements, that might not have worked very well for us. But because the state of California is supplementing our reimbursements by making every meal free at the free rate, it works for us quite well. During a regular school year, that might not have been the decision we made, but for us, it's the right decision to make sure that all students have access to meals. We knew that there were families in our district who might have a student who goes to Oxford Academy, but might also have a student who goes to Ponderosa Elementary School. We knew that. We didn't want families to be confused by, well, do I have to fill out a why do I have to fill out a free and reduced application for Tiffany, but I don't need to fill out a free and reduced application for Tony? Why do I not have to do that? We wanted to make sure families knew that all meals were free and accessible to all students throughout our campuses. That's why we chose to go to community eligibility for all campuses, and that's why Universal Meals works for us, and why we're seeing the number of students increase, the number of meals that we're serving go up each day. So funding. We're getting funding from the state of California in the tune of about $1.6 million for the kitchen infrastructure and training funds. Those funds are already being put to good use. We are purchasing ovens, stoves, we are purchasing new packaging machines for our central kitchen, we're buying warmers, we're buying milk coolers, and we're also being able to now have our staff have more formalized training, recipe development, food safety, all kinds of training that they've never had before, and it's because the state of California has made a commitment to food services departments throughout the state to make sure that our employees, our kitchens are now going to be state-of-the-art, so that we now have that ability to do fresh cooked meals like you have today. The USDA provided us with supply chain assistance funds, which helped us purchase more minimally processed foods. That kind of funding needs to keep coming to us. Just as I said that it needs to be a federal response to universal meals, we need to keep the money coming to food service departments. It's quite frankly, during COVID, we were hurt badly. In my department, we lost $3 million in 2021. We lost over $2 million in 1920 just because of COVID. We're now on the rebound, and we're thankful for that, but it's a long hill to climb.
Thank you. So we purchased a lot of produce. I pulled a report for last school year, and for produce alone, we purchased and served over 54,000 cases of fresh fruits and vegetables. So because it's such a large part of our school meal program, we really do our best to purchase California-grown produce whenever we can. We're able to do that because we maximize our DoD funds, but also we work with our distributor, Gold Star, who works with over 25 local growers, suppliers, and processors. And of course, the grant funding that we received from the California Department of Food and Agriculture, that has also allowed us to purchase more California-grown produce, as well as purchase produce from the farm here at Magnolia. This school year, we made a big commitment to the district, to the students, that we would purchase produce from the MAC and serve it for lunch. So we've been able to purchase a variety of different items all at different times. And so some of the things we were able to purchase were different types of lettuces, different types of tomatoes, green onions, cilantro, even strawberries. Of course, depending upon the quantity, the availability, the seasonality, we would put them on our salad bar that some of you saw. We would also incorporate them into recipes. And I have to give a big shout out to our Magnolia staff because they are a big part of this commitment to the students. As you can imagine, pulling produce from the farm, it's whole. It's not processed at all, so they are spending extra time and effort to wash it down, chop it, prepare it. So this picture here is our spicy chicken wrap, which some of you got to taste. So the lettuce, the green onions, and the tomatoes that are pictured here are from the MAC. And so some of the produce that was in your spicy chicken wrap was also from the MAC. When we can, this was earlier in the year, we were able to get zucchini, squash, broccoli, and Edgar and his staff washed it down, chopped it, prepped it, seasoned it, and he roasted it. I wouldn't say it was a huge hit. The kids, I don't think they really enjoyed it, but what he did was he ended up incorporating the roasted veggies into his chili, our house-made chili, so they really enjoy that. Both the spicy chicken wrap and the chili are popular entrees here at Magnolia. The menu is a huge part of our program. Someone had asked, how do you choose menu items, or how do you design the menu? So since AUHSD spans across 5 different cities, we do have a wide variety of student demographics. So the taste preferences, the food preferences at different sites, it's all different. So what we aim to do is provide a good variety so that they have a diverse selection of items that they can choose from. I just wanted to highlight some of our new items and some of our items that are not new, but they're oldies but goodies. So our turkey chorizo breakfast bowl, that's something that was new this year. It's scrambled eggs, turkey chorizo in a whole grain tortilla bowl. Our teriyaki chicken is not new, but it sits in a bed of brown rice, steamed vegetables, and then our shake ramen, which you got to try. I had mentioned that it's a local small business, and so the owner, Brian, he's a native to Orange County. He has roots here, so it's wonderful to get to provide that type of meal to the students, but still also promote our local small business. And then the walking taco, it's my favorite. It's ground turkey meat, pinto beans, and it has all of the toppings like pico de gallo, shredded lettuce, and it's served with baked whole grain Doritos. I'm actually a product of AUHSD. I went and at Anaheim Elementary School District. I went to Clara Barton, Ball Junior High, and I graduated from Loera High School. It's really, I feel like school food service has progressed so much from when it was my time. And it's really meaningful to me to get to be a part of something like that, to be a part of that progression in a district that I was raised in. So this is, yeah, it's very meaningful. The breakfast bar is another new thing for our district. We provide free breakfast and lunch to all of our students, but we wanted to entice the students to come and eat breakfast with us. So at breakfast at all of our junior highs and high schools once a week, we prepare freshly made pancakes or waffles. They get scrambled eggs, hash browns, fresh fruit. And so some of the students had really positive feedback. I mean, some of them even said, this is better than my mom has made me, which that's such a compliment to us. Our salad bars, we have salad bars at most of our junior highs and high schools. We actually haven't had our traditional salad bar in over 2.5 years because of COVID, but this is the first year we were able to bring it back. This is a great way for us to provide different vegetable subgroups to the students, and it looks attractive, it's colorful, so we're so happy to bring this back. In June of 2021, we were awarded the Farm to School Incubator Grant from the California Department of Agriculture, Food and Agriculture. This grant, the goal of it was to introduce the kids to California grown produce, increase their exposure and their consumption of produce, and we really wanted to educate the students about where their food comes from. For us, in accomplishing these goals, it was really important for us to provide that type of education early on so that by the time they came to us in 7th and 8th grade, they already had that background of healthy eating and where their food comes from. I wanted to recognize our amazing team because we were able to do a lot of wonderful things with the grant funding. But today we have Ana Luciano Acinas. She's this supervising public health nutritionist for Orange County Healthcare Agency. We have Meredith Ibanez. She's the program manager for nutrition services. And then we have Nigel Napoleon, who is the wellness coordinator for Anaheim Elementary School District. And then pictured here is George and Tao. They're our garden experts. So for me, what really came out of this grant is the collaboration, the relationships we built with Orange County Healthcare Agency and Elementary School District. It's been wonderful, and that's what's going to sustain us even after the grant is over. Just a little bit about our grant. We had a school garden component. It's starting off at our elementary schools, but we hope to, eventually it's gonna run into our high schools and junior highs. So last year through the CDFA grant, we were able to implement gardens in 6 of our school sites. So we did site assessments. We were able to determine where the garden was gonna go, what type of gardening to use, because they were also different. And so we reached over 30 teachers and 800 students just through those 6 sites. Of course, over the course of the grant, we're going to expand our efforts to Anaheim Union High School District sites to help improve existing gardens or implement gardens that you see here at the sites. To make it special for the students, after we did the planning and many trips to Home Depot, we had a planting day with the kids. So they had this really special session where they were educated about where their food comes from. They were provided nutrition education by Nigel and the Orange County Healthcare Agency. And then they got hands-on learning. Like they got to get in there and get their hands dirty and learn that planting a garden only takes very little. You don't need a lot of space, very simple tools. I wanted to share this before and after. This is Orange Grove Elementary. So you can see in February, this was the garden site. It had 1 garden bed with not a lot growing in it, and there was just bushes. I mean, we weren't really using it. And then a month later, it all got torn out, and there's 4 large garden beds there. And then 2 months later from that, because of the students and teachers were maintaining the garden so well, it was thriving. They had cucumbers, peppers, different kinds of lettuces, tomatoes. So it was really nice that they got to see that before they left for the summer. And then we also had a harvest celebration for each of the 6 school sites where we got to, Orange County Healthcare Agency came in, they did cooking demos. The principal actually selected a recipe to feature, and it featured the garden produce, so they got to incorporate that. And this one was Orange Grove. It's a marinated cucumber salad. It was really tasty, and then the kids got to take home a little gardening kit so that they could garden at home with their parents. And then as far as, other than this, the garden aspect, we wanted to make sure to incorporate the cafeteria and of course the classroom. So for the menu side of it, we were integrating California grown produce every month. We featured a highlighted fruit every month. So one month we did blood oranges, which most kids heard the word blood oranges and they didn't know what to think. But we were able to slice them in our kitchens, and then we served them at breakfast. And then we also prepared tasting kits where Nigel took them, did nutrition education in the classroom. So the point of that was to get multiple exposure of blood oranges so that they would recognize it, they would know it, they would take it, they would go home and hopefully recognize it in the store with their parents so that they would then bring it to their parents and say, hey, let's try this.
We will be out at the garden shortly. When Tiffany talks about the classroom connection and the cafeteria classroom connection, one of the most important things for us is outreach to students and parents. So quite often when Mr. Saldivar was the principal at Anaheim High School and when Carlos was the principal, principals often invite us to come and do a coffee with the principal. We take over the meeting, we talk to parents about school food service, we tell them all about what all the regulations we have to follow, and then the most important and most popular part of the meeting is when parents get to taste, and what you guys did today. They get to taste what their children eat. And that is extremely important to us so that type of outreach, parents understand what their children have access to on a daily basis. However, the most important part of our job is to meet with students, is to find out what students want to eat. So our menus, in my opinion, if I don't like it, makes no difference, because if students like it, that's the most important piece of the puzzle. So we meet with students on a regular basis. Some of our friends from appropriations asked kinds of questions about how do things get on the menu. I'll tell you, in the high school district, sometimes it's most challenging. Looking at our 3 students here, their tastes change rapidly. So we have to be nimble, we have to be flexible, and we have to be able to change with them to provide them with what they want. So we listen to them on a daily basis, we listen to them on a regular basis and meet with them on a regular basis also. Finally, I want to talk, and end my part before I hand it over to Monty, is to just talk briefly about supply chain shortages. Despite the fact that the supply chain shortages have not eased for us, and I will tell you just one quick little story. The beginning of last school year, Tiffany started reaching out to our distributor on a daily basis to find out what we would receive, what we would not receive, and what would be substituted. On a daily basis, we would receive, all of us would receive an email from Tiffany, and it would have anywhere from 100 to 200 items, literally, that we would not receive, that would be substituted, or that would be shorted. We thought that would get better. Quite frankly, it hasn't. The beginning of this school year, we started to get emails from Tiffany. I was extremely happy. It's like, oh my God, 5, 10 items, awesome. About 3 weeks ago, I opened an email on a Sunday. Got an email from Tiffany on a Sunday, that's never a good thing. 200 items. What happened? Despite that, our commitment is to our children. Our commitment is to make sure that they get what they want on a daily basis. Our commitment is to follow our menu. Our commitment is to make sure that they have access to healthy, fresh food on a daily basis. So we substitute, and we find a way to feed them. And that's what we're doing on a daily basis, and we're proud to do it. I'm going to turn it over to Monty.
So right now, there are 23.5 million Americans, including 6.5 million children, living in what is so-called a food desert, which is mainly in inner cities and rural areas. For your information, a food desert is a geographical location where the residents have little to no access to affordable fresh food. Hello everyone, my name is Muntadar Al-Jadid, or Monty, and I live in a food desert. I am an immigrant who left Iraq and ended up in Anaheim, California. The same Anaheim, known for the happiest place on earth, Disneyland, located just miles from beautiful Southern California beaches and home of the Anaheim Ducks and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. While my family has benefited from the land of opportunity and have been able to make the better life my parents envisioned for us, myself and my brother and my sister, one thing that we have left behind is access to healthy and nutritious food. I, in fact, lived on a farm in Iraq and grew the food we ate, but now my family and I live in a modest apartment on one of the main streets in California called Beach Boulevard. Beach Boulevard will take you to Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, Pacific Coast Highway, and many other attractions. However, you may need to drive past the many hotels, motels, corners in which illegal activities are publicly displayed, such as prostitution and drug sales. In addition to these many vices, the one vice that is often overlooked is ignoring the healthy food crisis in poor neighborhoods like my own. In the words of Ron Finley, the guerrilla gardener himself from South Central LA, he says, "The food deserts are where the drive-thrus are killing more than the drive-bys." This is because in these neighborhoods, there's an abundance of fast food restaurants, convenience stores, and gas stations rather than grocery stores and farmers markets. In fact, I live right next to Taco Bell. When I say right next to, I mean right next to. We actually share a wall. The closest grocery store to my house is a Food for Less that is almost 2 miles away. So when my family and I get hungry, it's much more convenient for us to walk 100 feet to the Taco Bell rather than trek the 2 miles to go to the grocery store down the street. For many families in my neighborhood, our daily diet includes fast food, snacks from vending machines, and also treats from the local 7-Elevens. We know consumption of unhealthy foods leads to health concerns such as obesity, diabetes, and heart failure because of the high sugar, salt, saturated fat, and processed ingredients in these foods. Some may be quick to blame families for allowing this diet, but are never quick to help fix it. Fast food places have attempted to provide healthier options. However, have you ever ordered a salad from McDonald's, Carl's Jr., or even Burger King? Well, that's a bit of a trick question because they actually don't offer salads on their menus. But a healthier fast food option, such as Subway actually does. However, the last time I was at the Subway, instead of a sandwich, I tried to order something a bit better, a salad. Instead of paying $5.29 for a 6-inch sub, the salad cost $7.78. An additional $2.49 for substituting the bread with fresh veggies. That's an almost 50% increase in price to get a healthier option. That is society's way of telling me that I have to spend an extra $2.49 so that I have a lower chance of dying from a heart attack, becoming obese, and suffering from high cholesterol. What should I do when my family can't afford a 50% markup for a healthier life? The only way this will change is if we collectively call for a change. This is why I am proud and I'm grateful to be part of to be a part of the Anaheim Union High School District because we focus on student engagement and student voice. As a student ambassador for Magnolia High School, which you guys are all at right now, obviously, I get to represent the student body and their concerns, their needs, and their assets. It was because of student voices that our district took a dirt lot that was behind our science buildings and turned it into an urban farm called the Magnolia Agri-Science Community Center, which is the MAC. Those are the projects, yeah. The vision of the MAC is to nourish our students and community members, but also create job training skills and experiences to educate students and the community on sustainable food practices and ecological issues. We want to turn Anaheim from a food desert to a food, healthcare, and civics oasis. Now, I'd like to end with giving you some food for thought. Imagine fast food restaurants would make salad cheaper than burgers. Imagine vending machines stocked with foods high in fiber and nutrients. Imagine being able to solve food deserts, climate change, and healthcare. Now, instead of imagining, I invite you to be a part of the change. Bring awareness about food deserts, invest in student voice, and vote for people and politics that will support students and families like my own. Together, we will make big changes. Thank you.
So what you've all been looking forward to is we're going to go to the MAC, and you can leave your stuff here. There's some water on the side if you want to take it with you, or you can just come back and have the water when you get back. I did want to make one just real observation, is that what's unique about Anaheim Union High School District is the relationship that food services has with the ed services side of the house. And I don't mean to separate them, but I think that I look around the room and I see Kim kind of nod her head. It's unusual in school districts where that relationship exists. Food services tends to be a little bit of an island, and we kind of operate and we go along. But we have a relationship with Ed Services, and it's powerful and it's meaningful, and I'm thankful for it. Thank you for being here for today. Yes, sir. Okay. So we're going to go out this door here. You're going to follow Sabina.